In this case, my office will seek a speedy trial so that our evidence can be tested in court and judged by a jury of citizens.
The government has had 3 years to investigate this, and now they want to rush this to trial in the middle of a political season. What does that tell you?
That is Trump's attorney with Caitlin last night talking about the fact he thinks it'll take 9 or 10 months to see this play out. We'll see. Let's bring back in our expert. Chairman, you, the lawyer. Jack Smith, his statement last night, the special counsel, was about 2 minutes. He chose every word, I have no doubt, incredibly carefully. The fact that he said speedy trial, what does it tell you?
I think that this case sort of jumps over the other 2 cases. And not to disrespect the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, that's a different animal. But in terms of the confidential document Espionage Act case, this is so much more critical and so much, and I think easier too, as I briefly mentioned before. I think that happens before that May date.
So explain why. So you're talking about Alvin Bragg here in New York, and has signaled, not explicitly said, but signaled a willingness to be open to moving that March date. Mar-a-Lago, you have classified documents, highly classified documents, so that can slow things down in terms of getting clearance. What can a jury see? What can they not? Are those the 2 reasons why you think this could be speedier?
I think from a practical standpoint, that is a fair statement. But I also think from a substantive standpoint, this case is not about somebody who maybe selfishly and arrogantly, if that's the theory you want to go with, took these documents and kept them for himself that he could have turned over and potentially avoided prosecution. You have someone in this particular case, meaning the current indictment, number 3, who is challenging the foundation of our country. I think that every American, no matter whether you're blue or red, needs to see this play out, and sooner rather than later. This is not something that you want to see go and extend over time. And in part, that is why I am sure Jack Smith said, we have these co-conspirators, but I'm not going to bring them into the mix. Let's just do Donald Trump and do him alone. And wherever this goes, if we prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt, he's guilty.
Then why not bring it first? Why bring the Mar-a-Lago documents case first?
Because I can't say, none of us here can say what was happening in those grand juries, the extent of those investigations, how it took them to get up to speed, what they needed to do. So, you know, there's a lot of different reasons, but that sort of quarterback after the fact, armchair quarterback, I don't want to speculate about that.
You're sitting on a panel on TV, man. That's
true.
What you're doing.
You know what? That's a fair statement. Let me go sit somewhere else. But,
No. That's a good thing.
But all kidding aside, there's so much that's going on, and this is such a heavy case. Both were heavy that we would be speculating so much. But this case now, currently, has to move forward in a speedy way.
This is a point that Scott Jennings, who worked for McConnell, said over and over last night. It was adamant about the American people cannot vote in a general election until they know the outcome of this, whether we know if Trump is convicted or not. The interesting thing, John, is that that's not how the law works. The law works, you bring a case when it's ready, and a judge has a lot to say here, and a defendant has more say than a prosecution on when something goes to trial. There's a deference to a defendant if they say they file motions, need more time, et cetera.
Yeah, and Trump's team has consistently showed a preference for delay because they believe that delay will be denial in that case. I mean, to some extent, Donald Trump is running to stay out of prison. Let's be honest about that. He's fundraising off this. He's delaying it. He's saying, you can't possibly prosecute me because we're in the middle of a political season. And indeed, the prospect of a possible hypothetical self-pardon should he become president, right? And, you know, all these hypotheticals because we are in this unprecedented situation. The important thing to remember that I think in part you're getting at is people might not fully appreciate that someone can be elected to office from prison, including the office of
That's what I was
president.
sort of trying to talk to Tim Naftali about, is such uncharted territory.
Yes, completely surreal. But there are cases. James Michael Curley, former mayor of Boston, elected from prison for a local office there. It's very rare, as it should be, because for most folks, being in prison would be a disqualifier. For most folks, I would think trying to overturn an election would be a disqualifier. I will say again, the Constitution, 14th Amendment, Section 3, specifically says that if you've taken an oath to uphold the Constitution and then participate, give aid or comfort to an insurrection, you will be barred from holding federal office vis-a-vis a vote for Congress.
Do we have an extra hour to add here to debate
I would be
the
delighted
14th
to talk
Amendment,
about that
Section
at length
3 with
because
John Evelyn?
everyone says this is impossible, but it's in the Constitution. And if you look at the debates around it, it was designed to be prospective, not just about the Civil War. But here endeth the lesson for this morning.
Dude, you're here for a lot longer. There will be more lessons. Laura, I think one of the interesting things to me, there is a snap assumption, I think, with precedent based on the last 2 indictments and the potential for a 4th, that none of this has any impact on Trump. If it has an impact, it's a positive impact politically. We saw the fundraising issues that he's having, or the money issues he's having this week. We know calendar-wise, this is going to suck up a lot of the primary time, maybe even into a general election if he's the nominee. So from a purely organizational mechanics campaign perspective, are people underappreciating the impact of the cost of this, literally, and the calendar of this over the course of the next 15 months?
The cost, I think, yes, maybe we're all underappreciating that. The impact on voters, I'm not sure that we're actually underappreciating that, because I think that Republican voters have shown time and time again, and when I've talked to Republican voters, they are really tethered to the former president, and they support him. And when they see more indictments, and when they see him attacked, or what they consider attacks by Democrats, then they just rally around him, and it makes them want to support him more. And Republicans have contributed to that by repeating that these are attacks, that this is unfair, that this is persecution. Republican lawmakers have essentially helped create this entire narrative among their base. So when we talk about them being caught between a rock and a hard place, they really created this entire environment for themselves. And they continue to do so when you see candidates like Ron DeSantis and Senator Tim Scott say that this is a weaponization of government, and so distrust about the justice system.
Yeah. Stay with us. They literally walked themselves, right? They saw a rock, they saw a hard place, and they're like, let's just go stand. Right?
Yes, right.
I love it. Repeatedly. Lawmakers in Washington are calling it a sad or dark day for America, but for very different reasons. That's coming up next.